All right, guys, Shotty T here. We got another video. Know it's been a couple of days. Was on a little bit of a weekend getaway for Labor Day weekend. Enjoyed myself, but now back in the saddle with a regular schedule. So, just to kind of recap what took place while I was away, we did have a Capital War that we did win last week as anticipated. I literally fell asleep during the war because there was like literally no activity going on. I had planned on recording that live, but it just wasn't anything going on. Like you guys never would not have gotten anything out of that video. Promise you that. But this week we do have a much tougher opponent, Server 245. The way that the week is starting so far, it looks like we are going to be on the defense. Which may or may not be a bad thing, but we will adjust accordingly. There's still time to catch up throughout the rest of the week, but the wanted boss damage does come into play. That's going to be significant the rest of the week, but they just have stronger individuals to probably get that. And of course, we don't have any Storm Arena qualifying people. So that said, um, I want to make sure that I go over a couple of things with you guys. Of course, the important thing is that make sure that you are still doing these because it's only a few days left. So make sure you continue to do these predictions. Like this is literally coming down to the nitty gritty. So once reset hits, you'll be able to make predictions, and these will get 4 times for these. So you'll be able to get more black market dollars for that. Each week, the black market challenge to get dollars, it rotates on what you can do to get double the rewards. One of them this week is the wanted boss attempt. So, but it changes week to week. And also the black market itself, this is the very last week of the black market. So take advantage of your opportunity to get especially these hero exclusive weapon choice. I will do an opening. Matter of fact, we go ahead and do it now because we've already pretty much gotten all the dollars we're gonna get today, except for like 30, which I don't think that's gonna make a difference of what I'm doing today. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this, get this out the way. So pretty much every time I see one of those shards, we're gonna open at the bottom, and it's gonna be one other thing we're gonna talk about, but we're just gonna go ahead and get this out of the way here. We're definitely gonna get that. All right. And then the last day of the black market, I might get some of these more expensive items, depending on how many dollars I got left, because can't really do anything with those dollars. They just sit there for the whole off season until the black market comes again at the end of season 5, which will be several months from now, from my perspective. So might as well maximize all the dollars that you got while you have them. So we're just gonna do this. So far, the pulls have been pretty decent. We just got two $500 items, but we're gonna get both of these here because these bond badges, I need one more to be able to upgrade my gorilla one more level. So I should be able to get that this week at some point. All right, so that was a pretty good haul there. We got 25 of these. So for my sake, I'm using it for DVA because I'm trying to get her to level 30 because I've already have all of these unlocked. But for those that don't have them unlocked, you just need 50 of them to unlock one. And I just got half of that in one setting today. So again, it's very easy to accumulate. Uh, Another small thing, make sure that you're doing whatever your surveys for the Canyon Storm Battlefield. It's been a great hit, so I'm probably going to give this some great uh, feedback on it. And from the feedback that I got, and that the people that are on the side where you have a teammate, it's not as fun from their perspective because they don't have the adjudicator, but it's a handicap match. So you got to have the other side has to have some type of benefit to even the playing field. And we actually won our Canyon Storm as the two team side last week. So it helps to have good teammates and good communication. All right. So other thing we're going to talk about here is, and it's very important to understand whenever, especially when you have close matchups, or even something as simple as looking at the championship duel, is understanding battle reports, because battle reports, it helps you make the right predictions and stuff like this, and also it helps you analyze your own situations wherein, especially if it's those close matchups. Now, obviously, if you face someone that's just supremely powerful than you, it doesn't matter what adjustment you make, you're gonna lose. But if it's like really close, and there been some situation where you might have someone that has slightly less power than you still beat you, and you probably wonder why, it always helps to look at the battle report. So, like one thing I've prided myself on throughout the life of this entire game is that I have not been beaten by someone that has less hero power than me, because I make sure to build my units the right way. It starts, of course, with this report card. So anything that you're like deficient in, just look at this report card. It'll let you know where your areas of improvement needs to be. All right, so it doesn't have to be all S's across the board, but just whatever it is, whether it's S if you're base, make sure everything else is at least a S. If it's something that's below a S, that's what you need to focus on next, or at least prioritize that, and then that way you can continue to stay balanced on your build up. So let's just look at some battle reports here. So I'm just gonna just we're gonna look at it from fighting against other humans. Matter of fact, I think it's probably easier for me to show something like this. Let's see. I'm trying to see if we can show one that shows an individual fight. I guess I have to go through these zombie siege reports, unfortunately, because we did have some battles. So there were some friendly battles against a certain person that used to be in our server that is sour grapes. But this is just going to show you this as an example here. So all right, so let's look at this here. So you got three different tabs. This is like a full-fledged battle report when you're facing against another human being. So of course you can always look at the fight replay by picking at this, so that way you can kind of see visually what happened during the fight. Because sometimes RNG does play a factor, like especially when you're dealing with Skylar's stun factor, or sometimes the missiles from Kimberly might go heavily towards your best attacker and kills them quickly. Or what's his name? Swift. Sometimes he'll start the fight random on who he targets first, but then once you have a certain hero that's low in power, he's just gonna target that person until they're dead. So you got stuff like that. RNG definitely does play a factor into that. And then of course you got the lineup. It lets you know if you had the class advantage or disadvantage. Now technically I did have the class disadvantage in this matchup, but I had such a big power difference, and you're gonna see why still was able to win this matchup pretty easily, because we're gonna look at the rest of the battle report. So now you look at the exclusive weapons. Again, relatively close, but this is not this guy's best team, obviously. All right, but this is where you can really see the difference. The weapons, the gear, 6.5 power to 2.2 power. So this was one of the primary reasons why I was able, because this is my best unit. So this is not his best unit. So as a result, his weapon, his gear build up is more weighted towards his top team, which is his aircraft, by the way. All right, and then you got hero skill. This lets you know the different skill levels of the different heroes. So again, if you see someone that beats you, you can see if they're maxed at certain skills for different heroes. As you can see, I got pretty much most of my aircraft maxed on every little detail. I guess I can upgrade DV8 because I've been upgrading her level, so I can send her to 38 on all three of hers, because I've been keeping her at max at all times for that there. So that's the first tab. So you got a pretty comprehensive view on just the heroes, their skill set, their gears, their exclusive weapons, and their class type. And of course, you can look at the visuals. And then of course, you got this here that kind of shows the power details that you have as well. And then you got this to kind of read, to look at that even further. So just look at every little detail, even this here. It lets you know as well, just looking at every little looking cranny. The next category is the army. So again, this is kind of like a tale of the tape. So you just look at both sides. Where did you have the advantage? Where did you have the disadvantage? So drone, of course, this guy overall is stronger than me, so his drone is going to be higher. His tech is more developed than me. Like for me personally, tech is probably like my biggest area of opportunity. So I've been focusing on that more to make myself more competitive. Decorations, obviously, he spends way more money than I do, so he has much more developed decorations. Units wise, again, this is my best squad, so I should have an advantage on that side for this particular battle. Wall of Honor, again, he has way more shards, way more money. So, like, some of the stuff that he's winning is just going to be an account specific thing. The Overlord, of course, the Overlord was not on this particular team that he had, but it still gave him some power. His Overlord was actually on his aircraft unit. Tactic cards, again, that's stuff that you don't get until season 4. So if you don't have that, don't worry about it. And then you have other. Sometimes it'll give you a more specific breakdown of what other stands for. You just have to go down here to see what that is. And this is just other stuff, either season skill specific bonus, all right, and damage reduction, a chance of taking critical hits. So again, these are just other stuff. It doesn't always, it varies depending on what it is. All right, so the other thing that you see here, so you got the tail of the tape there. All right, so it was pretty even. It was 40.5 to him, 39.6 for me there. And then the drone, as you saw there, his drone is well more developed than mine. He's at level 203. I'm at 171. The skill chip there is pretty. Uh, his skill chip is actually more developed than mine for even with my best aircraft versus second his second best unit. He has a level 6 um, missile here. So again, and then the drone components, his drone components should be more developed than mine. He actually has some that are close to level 10. This is my closest to level 10, 53%. I got another one that still hasn't reached level 9 yet. So again, this is all relative. Like some of you guys looking at mine and saying, well, yours is well bigger than mine. No matter where you are in the game, there's always going to be someone stronger than you. There's going to be someone weaker than you. So you just run your own race at the end of the day. Because the game is set up for no matter what your account level is to succeed in it here. All right. So again, I had the Overlord applied to mine. Like you can see, mine's at level 214. Here's is at level 404. And it's like level, I think Roman numeral, that's a 9. Mine's at an 8, so not far behind there. But just the 404, again, big difference there. Even with the Overlord not being on his squad, it still gave him some power, I guess some residual effects of the level 404 that gave him. You have your tech, again, tech. Now, he has 98% aircraft mastery. My aircraft is 55%. But if you look at his missile, which is the team that he was fighting me on this particular fight, it's only at 1%. My missile was at 9, but again, it's pointless. My aircraft was 55, so that's why for this particular battle, I had some edges, but he still had some other things that are higher than me, like Hero, 98%. I'm nowhere near 98% on Hero. And then this pretty much translate what all this stuff does for all this research. So again, just kind of read through and analyze it, what it does. If it has an up arrow, that means that you have an advantage. If it has a down arrow, that means you have a disadvantage. If it has nothing, like reduced damage taken, that means it was a push in that. So you have that there. Again, decorations. Decoration is like almost twice the power of mine. Again, it gives you breakdown details on that, tells of the tape. Tactic cards, which I recently just upgraded a couple of these, so it'll be higher than 4.8 in my next fight. But again, this is where I get these extra boosts from that to kind of help my team out, because these are your core cards moving forward. Morale, of course, I think I might have talked about morale in the previous video, but morale is whenever, if you have higher morale than your opponent, then it actually gives you more enhanced damage, and sometimes that can be a difference between winning and losing the fight. That's very close if the other person has higher morale. All right, so in this case, my morale was higher for this particular fight because I had all level 10 troops. He had a mixture of 10s and 9s because he was heavily fighting everybody. He wasn't discriminating, so I guess he was running low on level 10 troops. So because of that alone, that was one of the reasons why my morale was higher. And then the Wall of Honor, and you have that there. So that's the second category there. And then the very last one is statistics. It just lets you know how many units survived the fight, how many went to the hospital, and now I know one little thing that the game has updated. I think a couple of weeks ago. Normally we see the heal icon like in this area. Um, I'm just gonna try to show you here that it usually be where I'm clicking right here where you see that heal icon. Before you heal, it'll actually have like a little number next to that, and that lets you know how percentage wise your hospital capacity is. So if it's like 1%, that means you're in really good shape. But if it gets to the red numbers, like if it goes above 50%, it becomes more critical because if your hospital is at full capacity before a battle starts, then you're more likely to lose more troops because you don't have a chance to send at least some of them to the hospital to heal. So you always want to make sure that you uh, take advantage, make sure that you're taking advantage of your teammates' help to get your health back. At least try to keep your hospital in capacity. So you just got to manage the fight basically when you're fighting. So, and then for the rest of this here, you got the how many survive and all that stuff there, and how many are injured. And then also if you had any certain type of if you had certain type of skills, I got this that little decay gun on the war leader side. That's like a little extra thing that was done there. And then it also gives you the battle output of what individual heroes did. Now sometimes it can be RNG based, but here it lets you know that DVA by far did the most attack to the opponent, and then followed by Skylar, followed by Morrison. But there have been some situations where Morrison is the top attacker. It shows what your drone did, how much damage you took individually, and what your drone took as well. So again, these battle reports definitely help you analyze, especially the close matches. Like again, if it's lopsided, you're not going to really gain much by looking at it. But at the same time, you can still get an insight on what type of opponent you're dealing with, especially if you were fighting against their second best roster with your first best. Because again, that is an advanced tactic to do, especially when you guys saw that Canyon Storm battlefield I did that quite often. And this was another example of this butt hurt guy deciding to attack us because we didn't want him in our server. And so he just decided to attack everybody. And I said, well, I'm going to at least help defend our server against you. So this was a guy that whenever his top squad was off his wall, I took advantage by marching my squad at him. So, but yeah, guys, so make sure that you are analyzing that. It does help with your account progression in the game, knowing what areas you need to improve. There are a lot of things that you saw in those categories there. But yeah, we should be back at a regular schedule with these videos. Of course, we're going to talk about the upcoming updates and, of course, other topics of discussion. All right, and that'll do it. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and I'll talk to you later.